All right, today's segment is on artifacts and history. This is one of the parts that I always love about the early stages of a renovation, is just trying to establish some of the eras of use. So as a 1962 camper, this one is 9 years older than I was. So it's just always interesting to see, you know, where it's been and what it's done. Probably the most interesting camper for that was one that I found near the Renaissance Fair, or Renaissance Fest, and it had a tiger striped thong and a film camera, like a disposable camera that I estimated was from the late 80s. So in this camper, there's a couple different categories. So one is our toilet paper holder, right? So you have to have a toilet paper holder if you're gonna have a bathroom. So that's something I'll definitely hang on to. Whether a reproduction or kind of rechroming and cleanup is the case, it's those little touches that kind of bring you back to the original. Other fun period markers are, yes, the floppy disk. For those of us who were children in the late 70s, early 80s, this is a pretty advanced one. This is a 500 kilobyte, so half a megabyte. Which is pretty remarkable when you consider the phone that I'm using right now is a 64 gigabyte phone that would have held, what, I don't know, 128,000 or something of these. So floppy disk is interesting. It's always kind of fun to keep an archive of stuff from the camper, just for a little while and then throw it away because we take pictures. I don't know if you remember this, but these were discs that were shot from these little guns, and again in the late 70s. So that, for my son would have no idea what that is, but it jumped off the page at me. Kind of interesting. No gun for it though. Up in the forward cabinet, there's this little guy, kind of a roly-poly Santa. Let's see if we've got any identifiable characters. Kitty Products, Kiddie, Inc., Avon, Massachusetts, 02322. So some kind of a little chimey deal. So it'd be fun to look him up and see if we can kind of locate him in time. Last week I found a nickel. And currency in campers is always kind of an interesting thing. I don't have it with me at the moment, but the nickel was from the 90s, I want to say. I think it was a 98. And sometimes you can get some clues as to when the camper fell out of use based on that. If I was in this camper and I found a 2016, you know, I know it was at least somebody was in it with some stuff in 2016. But this one, based on the looks of it, sat for a very long time with no attention whatsoever. Camper lantern mantles are always a standard. They haven't really changed much in 300 years. This probably is not any kind of an original bolt, but just hang out with things like that. And this is trying to place this. It rings a bell. I want to say it's some kind of a locking mechanism, but I'm not totally certain. So I may run that one by my in-laws and see. This loop kind of slides. But anyway, it's always kind of interesting. Also, there was an older extension cord. Not anything particularly special, fairly contemporary. But that, in addition to things like window cranks and sometimes your outlets. In this case, the outlet's not terribly exceptional, but or the outlet covers anyway. Some of the door hardware, things like that. I always just take a couple of bins. I sort of have a fascination with bins, and we'll just hang on to everything from the very beginning and do some level of marking and coding to make sure I have all that. So next phase on this camper is going to be just stripping every possibly usable piece. So all of my bunk hardware, my door hardware, pulling window frames and things like that off. And again, we're going to basically unbuild it in the manner of which it was built. So see you next time.